was after the Adams Goods incident, or the situation that was happening. So for me, it was just a matter of time that it was going to come my way. You know, this guy that calls himself Muslim, he prays, he's got a beard. He looks like a terrorist, let's call it. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks, oh, because I grow a beard, I look like a terrorist. These days, no, it's fashion.
Bachar Houli, one of my favourite humans. I know that we've shared many enjoyable moments, but also some, I suppose, insightful and moments where we've learnt lots either about ourselves, each other, or others. Something that I love about you is just your willingness to be so generous in your time. You're the first person to put your hand up to shout the amount of breakfasts or lunches you've bought me over.
You're paid for lunch today, I don't care.
Deal. But I think for me, like the reason I'm so excited that you are coming on Shaped and are going to share a big part of your story is that the amount that I've learnt from you, not just in life, but also from Muslim faith, but by extension of that, my kids as well. And I'm so grateful for the journey we've been on, and having kids kind of the similar age and learning and going through that journey has been really, really enjoyable and insightful. So I suppose, speaking of kids, Bachar Houli as a kid, growing up in the western suburbs, Tarnee?
No, Altona North.
Altona North, yeah. Then Tarnee, as you grew up?
Yeah, that's right.
Parents had the fish and chip shop?
That's right.
Your whole life as a kid, mostly?
Not my parents, my brother. It's gone through the family.
It's a family business. Tell me about what life was like. Obviously, siblings, mum and dad. I think they migrated in the 1970s.
Yes, that's right.
From Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like?
First of all, I want to apologise to everyone, and I feel like I'm so sick of my own story. So it's so repetitive, but the reality is there's always something else that pops up. So I thought I'd get that off my chest. So here we go again, the Bachar Houli story again. Everyone's heard it. Every Prime Minister, every human being has heard it. But yeah, look, for me, Trent, I was born in Australia, and my parents migrated to Australia in the 1970s, and the reason for their migration was work, lifestyle, schooling. You can argue as well the health system is much better here than where they were at the time, where the civil war was happening. Nothing's changed. We've returned to the civil war again. So that was their main reason for moving over here, and just to give us a better way of life. And it worked for a number of years, and then they decided to go back to their hometown, and they obviously accumulated a bit of cash, and got us on the right track. But that kind of didn't last for too long. So I think it lasted for about a year, and then they returned back to Australia because they felt so much comfort in this great country, and there's no reason why not to be comfortable with this great country. The system here is second to none. For those who have travelled all around the world, well, second to that. That the reality is the system here. We're so blessed to have such a system and a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah. What has been, what do you love most about mum, dad, or both as a couple? What lessons have they taught you from a very young age?
Oh, just the absolute number one for me, and it's respect. Growing up, I never had that kind of the proper in-depth conversations with my parents. Big age gap, it was a different upbringing.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was kind of brought up from a world perspective.
From your brothers?
Brothers.
Yeah,
brothers, to be honest. I learnt so many things off my own brothers, my siblings, and kind of almost learnt my own way, to be very honest. Especially when it came from a faith perspective. My parents weren't very religious. They were more culturally driven. So for them, the non-negotiable was respect. Yeah. And what a quality to teach. I think every human being needs to have that in their life, to be able to get places in life, to be able to get respect in return, and to be happy, ultimately to be happy. You can succeed without respect, to be very honest.
But is it fulfilling?
But is it fulfilling? Does it bring you happiness? I think no, it doesn't. You see so many people out there who've got so little, but because they've got amazing qualities, they're so content and far more grateful than those who have got so much going on in their life and, have got everything out there, but yet they're not content. So respect is the number one thing that my parents have taught me, and that is an amazing value to have.
You weren't always keen on footy, and you did say that your brothers had a big impact on your football journey and were the ones that kind of encouraged you to take it up, because I think mum and dad were more interested in you focusing on your studies and prioritising that. So did they even know that you were playing as a junior? I mean, you were a man-child and kicking the ball 50 metres from a very young age.
No.
I remember growing up and I wasn't even from the western suburbs, hearing about this kid, Bachar Houli, who was the size you are now, kicking at 50 odd metres in under 12s, 13s, 14s, and no one could tackle you. Is the myth true?
Part of it's true. So yeah, I was almost pretty much this size, and I mean, not even that big, but as a 12-year-old, especially with a fully grown beard, you kind of get a little bit scared, and with a name of Bachar, get out of his way. The reality is I was the furthest thing away from a Bachar.
Yeah.
I was very, very gentle, of course, but not gentle when I came to kicking goals and kicking the footy, but had to do what I had to do. But yeah, my parents obviously weren't supportive of any form of sport. And that was the reason behind that, was because of education. They wanted us to get a solid education and to become doctors. That's it. If you weren't a doctor, you weren't successful.
Yeah.
And my oldest brother didn't help, because he's obviously a very
well known
specialist doctor, I guess. And he's a very special human being, to be very honest. And but we all grow up enjoying different things in
I think
life.
you've just skimmed over that. He's number one, top few of a specific.
I would say top few of a specific.
What is that?
I was hoping you didn't ask this question. I've had time to prepare for this, and in terms of like getting to know his Zach Phil, and he'll be filthy at this, but he always laughs because he can't even pronounce it properly as well.
Well, you don't have to pronounce it, but what does
it's
he
the
work
stomach?
on? Stomach area.
The audience will know.
I can't even say it.
But his look, Trent. It's not about his title. My brother is, and I'm a guy that speaks the truth. I don't care. If I see it, I'll say it, and I don't care. I'll go against my own mother if I have to.
Yeah.
When it comes to speaking about the truth. But from what I've witnessed and seen and spoken to people, this human being is not normal. He's above and beyond when it comes to people and showing care. And it is today. Like sometimes we get that perception of doctors that they're on big money and they just do what they have to do. They take in their own appointments and that's it. They're not willing. You go over your times. You say start charging you. This human being will go out of his way to go and see people. He'll go to specific hospitals to go see people. The respect that he's got in our community is, it's sad because it got to a stage where it probably is till today, where the youth will see me far more superior than him. But where the respect he's got is in the older generation, because they've either experienced someone in their family who's had a sickness or cancer, etc., and they've experienced him once firsthand about how he goes about his business, goes way above and beyond his job. But that's fulfilling for him. I don't know if it comes from him having a sick child. I think that has a bit of an influence as well. Obviously, his son's got they still can't even work out what he's got. He's a very sick child, and he, he's very emotional, and it's changing. Doctors are very strong. Imagine having to deliver news to someone that their loved one has passed and stuff like that. But whenever his child comes up, he bawls his eyes out. So I think he's gone above and beyond since having. I'll call it a blessing. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. It's actually a blessing, and he says it himself. It's a blessing in his life that the fact he's got a sick child. Okay, because what happens is probably giving him a different perspective on life as well. So, we Trent, as Muslims, that when we're faced with hardship, it's actually a blessing
because of the lessons that it teaches.
The lessons it teaches you, and I'm sure we'll probably share the accident that I had as well. Not that I was ungrateful or anything, but it gives you a greater perspective of life, and the reasons and the purpose of existence and why we live. So for him, that's kind of been a blessing, that if he's patient with this young sick son that he's got, his destiny is paradise. And that's what we as Muslims, we live life, to enjoy, indulge, but live within means and, certain boundaries and laws Islamically. And part of our faith is that if a person is patient through his hardship, God will open up a path for them in this life, and more importantly, in the next life. And that's what we live life for.
Well, you've already touched on faith, but you were the first devout, I think I said that
Muslim,
right?
yeah.
Muslim?
Yeah.
And the third Muslim overall.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
What did that mean to you and your family? I mean, I'm sure there was a number of challenges that came with that. And as you said, they're the lessons and the blessings.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know a lot about Muslim faith, can you explain simply what the foundations are of your faith?
Yeah, very quickly. Obviously, it's been a massive part of my life, to be honest. And I grew up in a family that wasn't very, call it Islamic, following the faith to perfection, which is fine. At the end of the day, it's faith is a way of life. It should be incorporated in your life, and certain times you got to get out of your way to perform prayer, etc. But it should be a part of your life. Everything you do, whether it's going to work, whether it's dealing with your kids, whether it's how you treat your neighbors, faith you can incorporate in it, and there's lessons out of faith, and how to deal with certain things. But for the Islamic faith, basically all it is, it's based on, everyone knows the 5 pillars of Islam. The 5 pillars of Islam is, it's number one, first and foremost, is you need to testify that there's one God worthy of worship alone. And that is the big thing. We believe in one God that's worthy of worship, that created all of humanity, all insects, animals, mountains, oceans, etc. And we turn back to that one God. That's it. Once we believe in that God, which we in Arabic call Allah, which means God in English, then you're a person who submits. So Islam, the religion, means submission. So you're submitting yourself to the will of God. That's it. So once you believe that there's one God worthy of worship alone, and that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his final messenger, then you become a Muslim. You become a Muslim, but you obviously got to believe in that. Then the next part of Islam is the practices. The fasting, the going to pilgrimage, the praying, etc.
You've just whipped over a couple of those. So from the point of view of prayer, 5 times a day?
5 times a day. So we as Muslims pray 5 times a day, starting from dawn up until the last prayer is about an hour and a half after sunset.
And at what age do you start practicing all of these things?
Yeah. So you start at the age of 10.
Yep.
Okay. But it should be, let's call it, you start to get judged upon by your Lord when you reach the age of puberty. So that might be, in my case, the age of 3. Or others at the age of 15.
Yeah.
And that's the time where you start to get judged by God Almighty. And if you don't, obviously you fall into sin. Are you going to go to hell for it? God is the one who judges. If you left judgment to human beings, none of us will go to heaven. Everyone will go to hell. We're a race, or we're a creation that just loves to judge and not give people excuses and allow. You know what I mean? But thank God, God is the one who judges. But that's the process of that. So we obviously pray 5 times a day, and then the same thing applies with all the others. The fasting, the month of Ramadan, where we fast for a whole month, from dawn till dusk, abstaining from food from dawn till dusk. But it's not just about that. It's about obviously engaging in worship, becoming a better Muslim, becoming a better human being, ultimately. Yeah. So when we say about becoming a better Muslim, ultimately that means becoming a better human being. Because everything our religion preaches is to become a better human being.
And is that simply put living to the values that you believe as the most important?
Most important.
Better than you have previously?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there is no pressure that people can step outside of that at different stages, but still
always come back.
We all make mistakes, right?
Always come back. You go back to the start of creation for those who believe in a faith, etc. Adam, we all believe in Adam as the son of God, the first of creation. He sinned. If our father sinned, then what makes us?
Yeah.
And we're sinners at the end of the day. But the best of those who sin in our faith are the ones who return and come back. And the returning to God doesn't mean you're going to go and confess to a sheikh, an imam, someone, a leader in the community, sit in the box, in all due respects, whatever it may be. All you got to do is turn around you raise your hands and you ask for sincere forgiveness, and God forgives you right there and there. Done and dusted. No negotiation, no money, no time, no leaving your spot, right there and there. If you sincerely...
On your word.
Yeah, from the heart, you forgive, you ask for forgiveness, God forgives you, and you move on. And guess what? Return to that sin. Come back. Return, come back. That's the cycle of life, at the end of the day. We're human beings. We are born to sin, but the best of those who sin are the ones who repent.
Yeah, okay. And is part of that growth acknowledging that you have sinned?
Yes.
And then coming back.
So the intention is not to come back.
Yeah.
But sometimes you will come back. But with persevering and believing in God and asking God for clarity, for staying away from a certain sin, God will help you.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that personally a million times. I'm not here to expose any sort of sin, but all those who sin from a faith perspective will always tell you that when you're persistent with your asking of forgiveness, God will always take you away from that. It might take weeks, it might take years, it might take a lifetime. But the reality is, in Islam, your ending is the most important part of your life.
Okay.
I know it's getting really deep in thing, but you know what? It's lessons for everyone. Your ending is your most important part of your life. The way you end your life, because we believe in the hereafter, is the way you become. The way you're resurrected on the day of judgment. We believe in the day of judgment. So for us, but the big thing is who's to guarantee when you're going to die? That's the only thing that you and I and everyone will face. That's one guaranteed. People will argue too. The other one is tax. You got to pay tax. There's two things you can't hide away from. But some people do. They dodge a tax. But death, you're never going to dodge that. And we can't simply just wait for our old age or for a disease. How many sudden deaths are happening now? In my community, there's so many 16, 17, 12, 25-year-olds pass away at such a young age. So we need to be ready. And that's the most important way to obviously leave this life.
You touched on pilgrimage as part of the process or one of the practices. You recently did a trip with the family, 3 kids, and did pilgrimage? Yeah,
so it's a minor pilgrimage.
Yeah,
so in Islam, we've got the major one, which is called Hajj, and that is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And for that one is that it's compulsory upon a person who is physically able to do it, financially can afford to, because these days it costs a lot of money. Back in my days when I first went, it cost me $7,000. Prior to that, it's less and less. Obviously, cost of living and everything. But now I think it's gone up to about $25,000. So it's a lot of money. So as long as you got the intention of doing it, then you get rewarded for your intention. But we went to a thing called Umrah. Umrah means basically it's just a minor pilgrimage that you get. There's a massive reward in it, no doubt, but it's not compulsory in Islam.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
But I did go because I wanted first of all, my wife really wanted to go. I always want to go, and I'm very greedy. I go about 3 times a year. The reason why I want to go is because it's just I get that spiritual reboost, or that boost, that kind of that one needs sometimes, especially when you're caught up in a lot of things that's happening.
You.
That's all it is. Yeah. So it's that self-time, and then from the kids' perspective, is that just to open their eyes to see what's out there. Especially when you go and see that scene right there where you see people from all walks of life, rich, poor, amazing view. And you see how everyone comes in for one reason, and that is to worship God. Amazing. They're not there to do business. They're not there to catch up over coffee and stuff like that. I mean, you can do that, no doubt. But you're there to worship God and renew your intentions and become a better human being.
Yeah. Speaking of your kids, I remember we went on a camping trip. I think it was just prior to Melbourne being locked down from COVID. So it was Dustin, yourself, pretty sure Mackenzie and Harper came along, my both, 2 daughters, and then Sarah, just your eldest, came along. And you have the full setup and even the coffee machine you brought along. But we'd gone for a walk just before dinner, which you were so generously setting up for and cooking. And Harper, I think we'd organised a race back to the campsite, and Harper had gone ahead, and then she all of a sudden returned really quickly in a bit of she was a bit rattled. She's like, "Oh my God, Dad, Bachar, he's headbutting the ground. I don't know what's wrong." But it's that moment for me that I go, wow, like we are here just as a bunch of mates enjoying time that we have together to spend together. And here we are with my daughter who's learning that part of your faith and your beliefs. And Sarah was so beautiful in the way that she explained what you were doing in praying. That there was a moment in time where my kids organically get educated on something that was not normal for them. And, you know, there's been so many, there was another occasion where we were driving home from training, and I think you had another commitment maybe with the Bachar Houli Foundation after the fact. So I took Sarah with me, and she was explaining Ramadan. And for me, like, it's a big reason as to why we're sitting here, because there's so many people out there that would love to know more about Muslim faith and understanding, you know, some of these terms that they hear often but don't actually probably have And I've been so lucky and fortunate to learn it through just having such a special relationship. So it was a special time. There was also another time where we came to your house for the first time, because it is effectively forbidden to engage with the opposite sex.
Engage, like physically.
As in physically hug,
touch, kiss,
give a kiss,
which
hello.
Is the norm today.
The normal here in Australia. And you, like, for me, you said you would never do anything but tell the truth or go away from telling the truth. And you had a conversation with you the next, I think it was the next day or even maybe in the moment. And you said, "Oh, just so you know, like, appreciated you coming, but this is just something that doesn't happen." And those kind of moments have really stuck with me, because one, there'd be a lot of people that would probably shy away from even having that conversation. Have you always been someone that, if you truly believe or value something, that is just going to help someone on their journey?
I believe in that. I won't say I've aced it all my life. I've become much better. Like, I'm at a stage now where I just, wherever I can educate, I'll go out of my way to educate, because at the end of the day, it just makes a better society, to be very honest. Why shy away from something that's so important to you, especially when there's value in it? So I've grown from that perspective, no doubt. So when I first started playing footy, I do it, but I probably hesitate more often, you know, and then whenever there's an opportunity of, you know, shaking someone's hand, we're talking about the opposite sex here and that, you know, obviously it is forbidden in our faith. I do it. And, still till today, I'll probably still do it, which I'm very guilty of, but I'm very conscious of at the same time.
Is that where the element of, in your head, respect, which you were taught by your parents, kind of,
it's a tough one,
intertwines or conjects with what your beliefs are?
Yes, that's the way I go about things, no doubt, but still it doesn't make it right Islamically. When it comes to faith, you need to stand your ground, and you need to, like, there's no real bending your own rules. So really, by me going and shaking someone's hand or giving them a hello kiss, talking about the opposite sex here, so don't worry, bro, I can kiss you and hug you as much as you want. You know what I mean? There's no shying away from it. That it is forbidden in Islam. There's reasons obviously behind that, no doubt. But I still, the element of respect comes in where I don't want to offend the other person. So, and as soon as I get the opportunity to educate, I follow it up. You know, I think it's very important. You know, and I know God will judge me that way. He's gonna look. He doesn't look at my appearance. What God does, he looks at the heart and the intention behind everything you say and you do. So it's very, very important. But to say it's the right way, I can't say it's the right way. But I believe my way is a form of education and growing. So that's the way I go about my certain business. And, you know, I'm not shy from that. At the end of the day, that's who I am. And I think it's great to be upfront. But very, very important in life, everything you do, you have to use wisdom. So it's such a powerful quality to have, which I'm still learning, but it's part of my faith. To use wisdom in everything you do in life, how to treat people, everything you do. If you use wisdom, you'll win people's respect. Is that right, Trent? Like, honestly, if I came to you one day and I first met you, all right, and I at least use that example of Brooke, you kissed Ruba, whatever it was, and I attacked you. How would you feel? Honestly, be honest. How would you feel? You feel like gutted,
taken
hurt.
aback. I would feel like I'd let you down, but also
let me down. We're mates. We're mates. So that you get over it. You know, whatever. But I think if you use wisdom, then you'll win someone's respect. You'll
which you did.
Yeah. So I think that's very, very important. Like I said, I don't have the answers to everything, but that's the way I've dealt with everything in my life, and I hope it's made a difference and it's given me the respect that I deserve in return.
Talk about faith and coming into a system in an AFL footy club. So drafted pick 42, I think it was, to the Bombers, 2006. Culturally, with all due respect, Muslim faith and a football club, particularly back in 2006, don't mix and don't match.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like for someone as they enter what is already a
Yeah.
pretty intimidating environment to then also have this other part of you that could you share? Could you be yourself? Or was it something that had to take time?
It took time, no doubt. And that's what I mentioned before. It's actually taken time to where I've got to today. Like having a conversation about, for example, not going to a social event where there's alcohol didn't happen in the first probably 5 or 6 years of my footy career.
Yeah.
Even when I transitioned to Richmond Footy Club, like it took a little bit of time, but probably the back end of my career, the last 4 or 5 years, I was so confident. I was, confident, but more about just, I knew I had the respect at the footy club where I can just come out and speak about what's important to me, and people just automatically, like, I had times, and I'm so grateful for this, that before I even finished the sentence, it's like, not done. It's like it's done. It's like, mate, you don't have to explain yourself. But I want to explain myself.
From an education point of
view. And not only that, to show that I'm not here to weave and duck around certain things that a lot of us don't want to do as footballers. Yeah, let's face it. Certain things, events, we don't really want to go there, but because we have to go there as part of our, obviously things that we've got to tick off. But I was always proactive, and I said that, whilst I can't do certain things from a faith perspective, hey, is there a hospital visit that I can do? Is there a school visit that I can go do and show my support and love to the youth out there, and where I can educate and grow people? So I think I was very proactive from that perspective, and never wanted to see that I was shown that I was running away from these sort of things. So it was very difficult at the start because I was shy about and scared. Let's call it scared about how people were going to perceive me, and part of me was like, if I keep saying I can't, is this going to impact me getting a game, having a career? And that I'm to blame. I'll be honest. I don't blame anyone else. Everyone was ready. Everyone was ready to accept it, and I felt like I had the qualities to go out and meet that, that fear. Let's call it. Let's just like But so I was the one to blame, and it took me a while to grow and to get to that stage. But I can say I've just been very grateful for the way everyone has respected me in the AFL industry. And that's why I love our game. I love what it does to multiculturalism.
I know that you're not one for speaking ill of people, or, as you said, you take those moments as blessings. But I have no doubt, and I know for a fact that there's been times in your career where there's been racism either spoken towards you or communicated via social media and so forth. How does that impact you, or even maybe more widely your family, when those kind of things happen?
Impacts more my family, to be honest. It impacts everyone around me other than me. So, man, I'm just a guy that lives in the moment.
So how do you deal with it?
How do I deal with it? I've just got to calm people down, to be honest. I've just always got to bring it back to the faith perspective. Everything I've done in my life, Trent, and I grow within time, and and understand. We always speak about the why for certain things in life, and for me, that's been my approach from a faith perspective. Because the why just makes sense for me. There's a true purpose of living. So I've always had to use the faith aspect to calm people down and just say, relax, it's okay. And I always used to use the example that, in Islam, or let's just speak in general, the greatest human being that ever was sent down to humanity is Prophet Muhammad, hands down. I don't care what people would say from other cultures, other walks of life. If you get to learn about the way this human being that was sent by God as a mercy to humanity, all of humanity, not just the Muslims, all of humanity, mankind, then we have a lesson to learn. All we got to do is read about this person, amazing human being, and follow in his footsteps. So for me, I've been very fortunate enough for the last 15 years to learn and to grow so much gratitude and use his way of life and incorporate in my life. So that's why when I always talk about religion, I refer back to the greatest example lived. And you learn. Yeah, you can argue, if you lived 1,500 years ago, but no, the same concept still exists today. Having good values, good manners, having a good character.
Yeah.
That doesn't change over time. Yeah, obviously the way life works and that changes a little bit, but the way you approach people, the way you deal with certain situations and how to treat people doesn't change. It remains. So I just used to use that with my family and always look at the greater picture at the end of the day. Okay, any opportunity to educate, I'll educate. And one of the example that I had, with one of the supporters who called me a jihadist, which is like a terrorist, someone who does bad things. And it was a bit confronting at the time, but I let it go and played the game, went along my business, had the game of my life. I was pumped up, did nothing wrong.
So did it motivate you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we ended up losing that game. We were playing Collingwood that day. Sorry, we gave up the supporter, but didn't give up the name, of course. I didn't get to know the name. But that wasn't important for me. For me, it was just about the message after that. Now, it was after the Adams Goods incident, or the situation that was happening. So for me, it was just a matter of time that it was going to come my way. This guy that calls himself Muslim, he prays, he's got a beard. He looks like a terrorist, let's call it. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks, because I grow a beard, I look like a terrorist. These days, no, it's fashion. But furthest thing away from, I mean, you've known me all my life. Have I shown any sort of glimpses of a bad person?
No,
probably
not.
And that's what Islam teaches and preaches at the end of the day. It preaches to be peaceful and show harmony and all that sort of stuff. But I use that opportunity to educate, and to go over to that person. And very easily I could have ejected and said, you know what, you're never going to watch a game ever again because I'm going to complain. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use education as the piece to educate others that this is not the way to go about things. And if I was a bad person, I'll do very bad things. But no, I'm not going to do that. You've made a mistake. We all make mistakes in life, but just grow from it.
You only spoke of this prior to us even coming on briefly, but do you think a big reason as to you living your most happy life is the fact that you are so strong in your forgiveness first and foremost, but also you made the comment that you have never hated anyone in your whole life. Yeah, you might dislike a certain trait or something that they value. Do you think that helps you live a better life?
100%.
Like when you look around the world today, do you see so many people that are complaining and talking about things that, one, really are out of their control, and two, doesn't actually impact their life?
Doesn't impact their life.
How important is that to you?
Once again, I'm not going to take credit for it.
No, I'm not
I'm not
saying you
taking
are.
credit for nothing.
But you choose to live that way.
But but once again, and I know this it's becoming like a faith session here. Everything in my life, I'm telling you, maybe let's say 99% of things in my life, I bring it back to faith. It's what it's taught me. Okay? That other 1%, it's what you learn from human beings and that. But you know what? I can always relate it back to faith.
Yeah.
You know that saying that we used to say, live in the moment, control what you can control, and don't worry about the future. The outcome will take care of itself. Revert it back to faith. Yeah, Dimma brought it up and amazing, fantastic. But I brought it back to faith. It's like far out. It took someone else to remind me of something that the faith has taught me so many years ago. So the forgiveness aspect and, the stuff that, why engage in such a conversation when it's not going to, you can't do anything about it. It comes back to slandering or gossip, backbiting. One of the major sins in Islam is backbiting, is gossiping.
Yeah.
It actually is one of the major sins. And we're putting it now here with adultery, with disobeying your parents, with that sort of stuff. We're talking about it right up there. Yeah. But because what does it create? It creates nothing. It creates headaches. It creates, we call it in Arabic, fitna, which is destruction.
Yeah,
that's what it does. By you going and gossiping and talking about stuff that doesn't really impact you and you can't really do much about it. What good is it doing you? What good is it doing it them? If you truly care and you love, you go and assist that person.
Yeah.
You give them that direct feedback in the right manner. You get what I mean? So, like I said, I revert it all back to my faith. And one of the, one of the names of God is the most forgiving. He is the most forgiving. So, if God has that amazing quality, then who are we not to have that quality?
I love that you refer it back to faith, and I know that this is where we've got along so well for so many years because we have lots of similar values, but I'm not Muslim. So for people who aren't...
You're actually better than a lot of Muslims out there. We've spoken about this before.
But for people listening or watching, as much as you've referred to faith a lot, you're not sitting there going, become a Muslim and you live a great life, right?
Absolutely not.
It's more about the education around what are the foundations of being a good Muslim. And the same goes for a good human being.
Yep.
Like I've always been a big believer that whether it's faith or it's just living life to values that you know are important to being the best version of yourself.
Yep.
For me, that's the lesson in it. It's like you're not sitting there going, well, you know, I'm judging you because you're not.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own journey, right?
Exactly right. Like I think I mentioned at the start, at the end of the day, thank God, God is the one who judges and not the human being. So
Too critical?
too very critical, man. Even myself, I'm not perfect as well. But yeah, I'm not for one, and I'm not for one to say, you know, you got to become or you should become and that. Do I want people to become a Muslim? Of course I do. You know why? Because I wish them well. Because I have tasted happiness in my life through my faith, and I want to share that. I want to share that. I'm not greedy. I want everyone else to taste that. But can I shove it down someone's throat? Absolutely not. You know what? Faith doesn't allow you to do that. Never ever shove anything down anyone's throat.
Yeah.
Educate, teach, provide.
Let them make the choice.
And it's a verse in the Quran. There's no compulsion in faith. Even when it comes to being a Muslim, it's not compulsory for you to, like if you choose not to pray, you don't have to pray. You should be praying. If you choose not to fast, you don't have to fast. It's just a way of life. If you want to attain happiness, then you follow.
This is the guide.
This is the guide. Thank you very much. And you'll be judged accordingly by the ultimate judge. That's it.
You win 3 premierships. Did you ever think that would happen?
No chance, no way. Thought I wouldn't get a game after the era at Essendon Footy Club. So for me, to play a handful of games, you know, at a footy club is something all I wanted as a young 23, 24-year-old, to taste success and win premierships. Oh mate, it was pretty special, to be very honest. And never thought of it going to happen, especially because obviously the way my career started.
Yeah. So you go into retirement, don't get to play your last game because of injury.
Yep. I was back.
Didn't get a game.
No, Dima called me and wanted me to play. I chose not to play. Why? Because one doesn't know arrogance or pride, because it's a furthest thing away from my nature. Trent, I finished off the year, so it was 7 games to go. We played Gold Coast. I did my ankle, syndesmosis, 7-week injury. At the time, I actually was playing I think I was second best on the ground at that moment. We were losing that game. I think we ended up losing that game. But so I was in pretty good form still, to be very honest, and enjoying my footy. And then basically I was right to go towards that last game, but I was told, obviously, let's just speak the truth here.
No contract.
No contract. Yeah, you know, people call it retirement. I am so on the front foot about saying I got sacked, and no, I'm happy for that. I am so grateful for that. You know, it took someone to tell me
at the time.
At the time, no, it was a shock. Why was a shock? It's not that I was very
still
sad,
contributing.
because I was and I was told I was very valued. I was told, that 3 weeks before I was told that I didn't have a job next year, that players like Bachar Houli don't grow on trees. How would you feel at the time? You'll be on top of the world, like sitting at home. Yeah, all sweet. I'm set for another year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Although I didn't love my footy, I still enjoyed the club. And we spoke about this, I think, the next year, and I shared this with other people, where I came and watched the game, and you were preparing for a game. And I said to you, Trent, man, I don't know how you keep doing this, bro. This is the worst part of the week for me, playing the game. You go, bro, are you serious? This is the best part of the week for me. So for me, I used to love the footy club, the enjoyment of the boys, the recoveries, the training, the feeds that we used to have. Best part of the week. But when it came to games, like there was so much pressure. You know, I'll go out there and perform whatever. But, you know, so the enjoyment aspect was I still enjoyed it. So, yeah, if I was told to go for another year or 2, hell yeah, I would have went. But it almost kind of done me a favour. So it was a shock for me at the time. A shock to say, you know what, guys like you don't grow on trees. 3 weeks later,
not needed.
Get a phone call saying you're not needed in a nice way and we want you to retire. Well, who are you to tell me that I should retire? At the time now. This is now... Naturally, the natural instinct of a human being becomes defensive.
Yeah, a little bit of ego.
There you go, of course.
I still
then I I got off the phone, took a deep breath, told my wife, started crying, whatever. It's a big shock. 15 years in the industry and like anything, it becomes a shock, yeah? But then the faith aspect kicked in. Number one was the gratitude. Don't ever forget your grassroots. This is the club that gave you opportunity. This is the man that believed in you. Dimmer, Blair Hartley, these guys. And you know what? So grateful for it. So I said, you know what? Sometimes you just don't get things that you want. And you got to accept it and move on. And then I looked at that moment. I said, you know what? This is a gift. This is what I've been waiting for. And we've always spoken about, we can't wait until we finish playing footy and the stuff that we're going to do in life and how much money do we need to survive per year. Probably yours has gone a bit higher. Oh, I mean, I'm still there. So it was a bit of a shock, to be very honest, but so grateful for that moment, because I couldn't be more happier, to be honest, in this part of my life where I'm free to do the stuff that I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, and you speak about that. It's obviously family, faith, but the foundation.
Yes,
3 Fs.
Yeah, actually the 4 Fs. Yeah, there's 4.
Fishing.
Yeah, so it's the book. I think is it my book? No, my book's the 3 Fs. But I used to always refer to my life as the 4 Fs. Anyway, yeah.
Was that them?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Like number one for me is the faith aspect. Like I said, because the faith teaches me to be the best at my fishing and my family and football. Yeah, you know what I mean. It makes me that person. So that's number one, and obviously the other ones flow on from that.
Yeah. What's the transition been like? I know that you're always one of those people that maybe I sat there and I was envious of your attitude, because it was like, I don't need that, and I don't need that, and I'm comfortable in what I'm doing right now. How have you found the transition? Because a lot of the athletes we have spoken, or ex-athletes that we've spoken to, have really battled through a period of time. It's taken 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years to work out, what does the next phase look like? How have you found it?
Very smooth. Very smooth. I've just literally walked out of one door into another door. And that's obviously very grateful for the fact that we established the foundation a few years back, and we're all ready for that moment.
Which now has a school?
Has a school, yeah, the school.
Which will grow.
ICS, Islamic College of Sport, which will continue to grow. Will become, a sports school for young Muslims growing in Australia, which is very, very much needed. And that's the purpose behind the foundation, everything we do in the community. We speak to community and we try to fill in that gap. Fill in the gap that what we feel is important for our community. It's not about Bachar Houli. It's not about Ali Fulwa. It's not about everyone that contributes to the foundation. It's about how we can make an impact on that next young woman, man growing up, to make them the best athlete, leader, Muslim they can be out there. And that's the purpose behind the foundation and the school.
Is that how you now define success?
Absolutely.
The quality of people and the education around it?
It's part of it. It's a massive part of it. You know what I mean? It's how much you can make an impact.
How proud are you of what you've managed to do through the vehicle of sport?
Yeah.
But you as a person, and as you said before, your brother probably warrants more respect. I would argue that equal respect is warranted. But how proud of your journey are you?
Yeah.
Have you ever spoken to your mum and dad about?
No. It's
Never.
hard. You know what? It's almost like my conversation with my parents is sign language. It's sad, but it's just, that's the way we go about our business. I've never had a full quality conversation with my mother and father. I was running one of the gratitude sessions, the ones that we've done in the past, the gratitude letter that you do with our youth, and to show gratitude to someone that you're grateful for, that you've been struggled to show gratitude through, and you call them and etc. Amazing lesson. And one of the guys that said that, because I always speak about my parents and the gratitude that I have for my parents, but to pick up the phone and to call them and to express my gratitude that way, it ain't going to happen. I can imagine my mum like yelling at me, but just out of love. So really, you just got to know how people tick. You know what I mean? So to have a quality conversation with my mum and my parents, it's a different conversation. I know they're very proud of me, and they know how grateful I am for the way they've raised me as a child. Because obviously shown many ways of gratitude physically, helping them, which is never enough. I don't care what you do for your parents. They're the ones that raised you. They're the ones that brought you up. If they step on your neck, they step on your neck. You get up and tell them, step on my neck again. That's the value parents should have in your life. Obviously, everyone's different in the way they're brought up and stuff like that. But, that's my gratitude. I go and visit 2-3 times a week. Yeah. Visit them. Even though they're 15, 20 minutes away. It's still not enough. I should be there every single day. My mum always reminds me. It should be every single day. She always reminds me, come and buy a house next to me, you know. I'm happy where I am, to be very honest. But if I live next door or where I am now, it won't be much of a difference. I'll still be there 2, 3, 4 times a week. So that's something my parents have, you know, obviously brought me up in that manner, and can never be grateful enough.
You touched on the accident. Now, for people who don't know, I remember the moment that I found out. I was I think it might have been a van that had called a group meeting for some of our leaders at the footy club, and we were notified that you'd been in a really serious accident whilst hunting up. Where was it again?
New South Wales.
Yeah, New South Wales. And it was kind of touch and go for a period of time. No one really knew the details of how it was. What was? I mean, I know what your answer is going to be around the gratitude and the perspective and so forth. But in those initial moments where you don't know what's actually happened to you, what's it like?
Yeah, it was a bit, happened pretty quick. I think within seconds, to be honest. And you know, we've been on a journey, and I love my hunting. Obviously, people follow me on Instagram, and I'm not very big on Instagram, to be very honest. Otherwise, probably have more followers. But it's not what I'm after. But to be very honest, obviously, I love my camping, my hunting, and more specifically, I love going out in the bush and hunting. I've got a license, you know, and I'm free to do this thing. But I don't post it, of course, because it's a bit sensitive, etc. But so I was out hunting, and I've been hunting this property for a number of years. Very grateful for the people who've given me permission on their property. You know, it's something that I've had access to for a few years, and I've been on that track for many times. But that moment was just the landscape got the better of me, of the property. And so I was driving my Jeep, and the back gave away. My brother-in-law was in the back with my best friend. I was driving the car, and we were traveling real slow. We were just pretty much driving from spot to spot, you know, glassing, seeing, you know, the deer that's out there, and just picking away in that. And so it's not like I was speeding or anything. Like, mate, I've never really copped a fine in my life, probably one or two. So yeah, I was just cruising, and then obviously the ground got the better of us. It must have been wet. The sun was out. The sun was out. It was sunny. It was about 8 a.m. And mind you, I was on that track, the same track, at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. the night before, or the night of, whatever, before. So there wasn't that much long before I was, but it must have the dew or the ice or the frost,
Ankle,
whatever. I don't know what it was. Anyway, just was meant to happen. That's the reality. I know we always bring it back, but it was just a moment in my life that was always meant to happen at that specific time, specific place. And then it come off the ledge and it started rolling. So I rolled a fair few times, I'm guessing. And at the time, I think after 1 or 2 rolls, my brother-in-law got flung out. But before that, thankfully and gratefully, that my mate jumped out of the car that was in the tub in the back. He knew, like he said, this is not Bachar's tricks. This is not, but Bachar never goes off grid. He doesn't do this sort of stuff. You know, I'm pretty safe. So he's jumped off. And you know, it was just meant to be. He jumped off, and I don't think he's seen it happen. He told me, he didn't see it happen, but he heard it happening. So can you imagine that? Don't worry about us. I was knocked out. I woke up on the floor. My brother-in-law, obviously, he doesn't remember even getting in the car in the first place. So it was all a blur. So it's actually a bit of it's a blessing within itself that you actually don't remember the proper scene. But I do remember it sliding up until that first smash when it come off the ledge, and it probably landed on the side, and my head hit something, and that hurt. And then I woke up on the floor.
Yeah. How far from the car were you?
I looked up. It was probably about 20 meters away. So I reckon it probably had another 1 or 2 rolls.
And you instantly knew something was wrong?
Yeah, at the time. So I was on my stomach, and obviously my hands were out. And then as I woke up, Wally, my best mate, was there, and he's like, "Bash, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I'm right. What happened? He goes, what happened? He goes, car flipped, you this and that, whatever. And then in the back, I can hear my brother-in-law just screaming, man, like a little kid. So much pain. I said, "Whoa, don't worry about me. Go to Carl. Don't worry about me. Leave me alone. Go to Carl." He goes, "Nah, whatever. Where's your phone? I said, "I don't know." I said, "Oh, it's here. My phone's here." So he's opened the zip. It was in there. Pulled it out. What's Glenn's number? I said, open. He goes, what's your PIN? Now he reckons I hesitated. I said, man, I gave you the PIN within no time. He goes, bro, are you serious? I said, I gave you. We're still arguing. We always muck around about the whole thing. So I gave him the PIN. So it's like I was conscious.
Yeah.
At the time I was knocked out. But then I was conscious. I gave him the PIN. He called Glenn, which is the farm owner. Glenn was there within 2 minutes. So I mean, everything happens for a reason. He was there 2 minutes. He came on his quad bike, shocked. The ambulance got there within 20 minutes. Like we're talking in the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the good thing, we weren't too far from the town. Came, they treated us. My brother-in-law was in a very bad state. Well, for me, I tried to move. I'll be honest. I tried to move. That's my nature, because I wanted to help. I wanted to help my brother-in-law. I can hear him and I can see his suffering, and I wanted to help. Was I guilty of anything? No, because I was still in shock. What the hell has just happened? I know I've done nothing wrong. You know, and so I'm still shocked how this all unfolded very quickly like that. So, and I just said to Wally, I said, just go sit with Carl. Go sit with Carl. Don't worry about me. And then Glenn came and he looked at me, and I remember Glenn was speaking to Glenn post the accident. He said, Bash, you were so peaceful. He goes, it's like there was nothing wrong with you. Because I tried to get up and I couldn't move.
Yeah.
That's what I knew.
Broken pelvis.
Broken pelvis, shattered.
Lots of
screws.
internal
Bits
and pieces.
A lot of stuff that people won't know,
Yep.
which is very sensitive to share, to be very honest. But you know, my insides were mucked up. I had a mucked up shoulder off the socket, probably a 12-month injury, if you look at it from a football perspective.
Yeah.
Happened at the right time, let's face it. So imagine me playing footy at the time. So, yeah, and it just happened from there. But my brother-in-law was in a very bad state. They almost lost him twice. They lost his, he lost blood pressure. They lost his beat at the times. Because I remember saying that, because the nurse was telling me, she was reaching out on Instagram. She said, we actually almost lost your brother-in-law, Carl, twice. She goes, we thought we lost him. I go, wow. It's a very, very bad state. So he got airlifted to Canberra at the time. And I went to Albury Hospital, and then I got airlifted straight back to Melbourne through the guidance of my brother, which I'm very grateful for. They airlifted me back to Melbourne and get that treatment back in Melbourne, at Royal Melbourne, which I can never thank the staff there. Just absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? That's why I always go back to, we're so blessed with the health system that we have here. And that's something I'll never, ever be grateful enough for.
Through that period, because, I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to spend a little bit of time with you while you're in the hospital. And I just remember leaving on one of those days. I think I was on the way to a game, maybe. Might have been injured at the time.
You came a couple of times, yeah.
And I remember going, oh my God, I wish I had have recorded that conversation just from the insights that you were providing. And I think, in a very short form, it forced you to sit still, which you're not very good at, reflect, appreciate, and then have perspective on why this had happened, and not to blame anyone, not to curse. You were genuinely in a state of, okay, what is this teaching me right here, right now?
Yep.
And I know for Ruby, your wife, to go through, and the rest of the family, and probably your kids, to see you in the way that you were.
Yeah.
Have you had conversations beyond that about that specific moment and what the lessons were?
Oh man, I just live in the moment, bro, to be honest. I can't even really, there's nothing that obviously springs out to mind, to be very honest. I live my life very simple. Yeah, I'm very active and I love the things that I do, but people say, oh, what lessons have you learned from it? There's not many, if any, to be very honest. I'm going to be honest. I'm not here to make up things, what it did, it grounded me. It forced me to stay in the position I was. What it did is it obviously grew my gratitude to another level, but I felt I had that in my life. People say, oh, what else? They're trying to find this one thing, but it could not come out.
It just cemented.
I don't know.
The stuff
Do you remember anything?
Do.
And I always tell people, like, the conversations that you had from me, like,
for me,
was there anything like?
I think for me, it was just the rawness of what you had just been through, but still in the way that you'd been talking.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was like, wow, I wish, my kids or other kids could hear the way that you're speaking about life, relationships, people. I don't think there was anything that was specific to your injury as such, but more so just the fact that here you are laying on a bed that was literally out of your, somewhat in your control, but not really.
Yeah.
It just happened.
No, exactly. Yeah.
But you still had this positive
Yeah.
attitude about everything,
Yeah.
and the way that you treated the nurse and the staff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. Like,
But that's what I'm saying, though. So I'm
yeah,
trying
so
to
you just cemented
I feel like that's
everything the way that you were living.
Yeah.
It allowed you to go, well, sit still for a second and go, this stuff really does work. And
Does
it does
work.
hold you in a
Exactly
good
right.
place.
And that's why, because I've done those years of training, that actually helped me for that situation. That's why I'm like I said, there's nothing new that was reinvented. Like it's the way I've lived my life. But you know what? That was exam time right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's
that was the test right
ultimate
there.
test.
They're like, okay, everything that you've attained those years. Now the test really begins. And I'm very grateful to say and proud to say that I think I passed. You know, I think I brought it upon myself, to be honest. You know, because I know I've touched on this before, but I said, we as Muslims, we believe that God loves, he tests those who he truly loves. It's a funny one, yeah? It's like he tests those who he truly loves. So he puts them through hardship. You know why he does that? So you can to test your gratitude towards him.
Yeah.
So you can come back and to remember him, that when something happens, because natural instinct for everyone, when something bad happens, what's the first thing they say? They say, oh God. Even if you're atheist, even if you don't believe in God, you say, the first thing that comes up is, oh God.
Yeah. So
you subconsciously, you know there's a God out there. There's a greater, thing that's worthy of worship out there. So for me, like, that was my life. I worshipped you. And that was a time that I needed God. And you know what? I felt like I passed. But when I say I put myself in a position, because I remember having these conversations with a few mates before. I said, you know what? Sometimes you have doubts in your life. Not doubt about my faith. I said, does God actually love me? I feel like I've lived my life. I haven't been truly tested. But then my mates would tell me, bro, like, do you remember that moment and that moment and that moment and that moment where you couldn't get a game? And like, that was time. That's hardship. But I didn't look at it as hardship. Why? Because I've lived all that life where God conscious, and I believed in that if you do the right thing, God will reward you. There'll always be light at the end of the tunnel. Along with hardship comes ease, because that's a verse in the Quran. I believed in that. I lived my life that way. Yeah. So when it was tested, bang, it helped. So, and like I said, I almost put that curse upon myself. And then you know what? God tested me with that. Yeah. But more importantly, he's what you wish for. So sometimes don't wish for certain things. So yeah, like to answer that question, bro, to be honest, I felt like there wasn't a lot of lessons greater to be learnt. I felt like I lived my life that way, and I dealt with that. And I'm ready. I don't care. Whatever comes my way, I'm so content in my life. I'm so happy in my life. We can always wish to do better, no doubt. But I'm ready for whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
And I'm so content. We've always spoken about this contentness.
You are.
One of the biggest blessings in your life is to be content. Today we have a problem in society. We just want more and more and more, which is natural. Even in our faith, it teaches you that if a man has a valley of gold, what does he wish for?
More.
He wishes for another valley of gold. That's normal, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being successful, rich, and that. But do the right things. But more importantly, be content. Be content with what you have.
How do you be content?
How do you be content?
I mean, people would be sitting there going, I want to be content.
It's a tough one. But once again, bro,
it's a journey, right?
It's a journey. But it comes back to faith.
Yeah.
The reason of existence. Why is Bachar Houli here? Like, what are you here for? Are you here to buy 10 houses and to be happy and, to earn millions of dollars and to have 15 kids? And are you here for that? Is that your sole purpose? If that's your sole purpose, then guess what? Sorry to say, man.
Yeah, you're not going to be content.
You're not going to be content because, like I said before, you always wish to have more.
Yeah.
So really the contentment comes back to your purpose in your life. What is your purpose in your life? And like I said, everyone's purpose is different. But for me, my reasons of existence here is to worship God and to understand that one day I'm going to return to him. And he's taught me the way to live life. He hasn't taught me to go out there and get 10 houses and to be an millionaire. You can go and do it. And you can still be very practicing, no doubt, no problems. So it comes back to what is your true purpose of existence. So God ain't going to judge me for having 20 houses, 10 houses, or one house. What he's going to judge? He's going to judge my heart.
Yeah.
How are you to people? Did you follow my way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One of my
That sort of stuff. Yeah.
favorite sayings around purpose is when you find yourself is when you truly lose yourself in the service of others.
Mm.
Do you think you live that life? Serving others?
It's a very good point. You know, I mean, like I said, to me, I'm trying to express, but it's very hard for the words to come out. But I know it works for me. But yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. Absolutely. How much contentment do you get when you're serving others, when you see someone change for the better in life and stuff?
Best feeling.
Best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Hands down, the best. You know what? Better than no money can buy that.
No.
I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. No money can buy when you see someone change their life for the better because of your words of encouragement or you being there for them. It doesn't mean financially. That's part of it. If you can help them financially, amazing. All right. But sometimes just that cuddle or, just that comfort that you can offer someone. And that's why I love what I do, bro. It's what I love the foundation, because that's our purpose. It's not about getting people drafted, Trent. Like, we want to see people achieve and reach their goals. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And we put the right people in place. But rather, we want them to be better human beings. We want them to be better Muslims, because ultimately, better Muslim becomes a better human being if you live it to the right way. Okay? So that is part of it. So to find contentment, for me is, the element of being so close to my faith. And ultimately, I'm not here forever. I'm here for a short period of time, as our Prophet, peace be upon him, said that. Live your life as a traveller.
As a traveller.
We are all travellers. We're travellers. Whether you like it or not, we're travellers. You know what I mean? Everyone will believe in different things, but being a Muslim, we believe in the hereafter. And that right there, the hereafter, is for eternity. You weigh it up. 50, 60, 100 years. You know what? I'm going to give you 1,000 years. No one's going to live to 1,000 years. Eternity. Which one's more greater? So give each one its due rights.
Hence why it's so important, and what you're judged on is when you finish your life.
When you finish your life, yeah. But there's another saying that the way you finish your life is the way you live your life most of the time. So if you live your life and you prepare for that moment, then you're going to finish your life in that positive way. So,
speaking of life, something we love to finish on is, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself when you were 16?
That's what I remember. Like, that was something that popped up. Should have been well prepared for this. One thing of advice when I was 16. Look, I wish what I'm saying today, I wish I could say that at 16.
Do you think you knew it, but were too scared?
Yeah, I reckon I knew a lot of it, not all of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously
you
with
learn
life,
stuff over time.
you become
through
more wise, experiences, and you learn, you grow and stuff like that. But I wish I was a bit more proactive when I was younger from an educational perspective. I felt like 16 was my turning point, where I shared my faith with my teammates.
That's a big moment, right? At your age?
Yeah, 100%. I was
16.
State championships.
Yeah.
I shared it with my roommates that I had to pray. And the respect I got from that was amazing. So, but I wish I went to another level. But, I always had this consciousness that I didn't want to shove things down people's throat. Like today, how much of our conversation has been about faith? And back then I would have said, no, I don't want to bore people. I don't want to make people think that, it's just about faith. But you know what? The reality is,
that is your life.
That is my life. Yeah. That's my life.
And what I was going to say is,
makes me happy.
It's called Shaped. And
yeah.
If you're talking about the things that have defined you most in life, not just your football journey, family, everything, kids, it has been faith.
It's been faith, yeah, exactly right. So that's probably one thing that I regret. But you know what? At the end, I'm doing it right now in my capacity, and that's probably the only thing I probably could if I took back time, I'd be better for.
Well, we have taken up a lot of your time, so I do appreciate it. But I want to congratulate you, because for me, what I've learned is so much of your being is around being a human being, not a human doing. Mm-hmm. And whilst part of you being the best version of yourself is doing things that make you happy, I think you are a very special and unique human being, and what you're doing in society is something that I'm grateful for being on that journey with you, but also learning along the way. And I'm sure that people that tune in and listen and hear about your journey further and wider than just the football journey will appreciate what you are doing, but what you've done as well. And thank you for being you.
Can I also say you're one of the best human beings I've ever met as well. So
Thank you.
hence why we're still mates, to be very honest. Not that everyone at the footy club is not my mate. Everyone's my mate, and I truly love them. But, I've learned so many things from you too, bro. You and Ivan marriage are like being my best two footy mates that I've had across my whole journey. So, I'm very grateful to have you in my life, and I hope the relationship continues forever. And I got no
It
doubt
will.
it will, because we've got clear intentions.
You don't have to say hope.
So yeah, just don't ever underestimate the influence you have on me as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.